So tonight's agenda, basically the way this is going to work, I'm going to run through our handout real quickly, not reading it word for word, but hitting the highlights to give you an overview of the project for those who were not able to attend some of our earlier open houses. Then I'm going to run through the maps real quickly and give you an idea of the two alternatives that we carried through detailed study. And then the most important part of tonight, which is the hearing part, is where NCDOT is here to listen to you. And this is your opportunity, one of your many opportunities to comment on this project. Anyone who would like to come and speak, there will be an opportunity. We had a sign up and at the open house, and then a sign up sheet out for anybody that wanted to speak. We'll start with that list, and then I will open it up to the floor, basically, to anyone who would like to come up and speak. So we want to give everybody an opportunity if you'd like to speak. I will note that these proceedings are being recorded, and a written transcript will be provided based on that. So everything you're saying, when folks do come down, please be sure to speak in the mic so that everybody else can hear, and then also that we can record your comments for the record. And I guess I will go ahead and mention too, we are videotaping the beginning portion of this presentation, and I'll double check with you guys. We're going to take the my presentation portion and put that on the YouTube site. Is that the plan? Right now?
Yeah, actually from the NC12 page, and we'll put it out through Facebook too. We'll have your presentation along with all of the maps and posters that were showed at the public hearing. We'll have all those on there as well. Okay,
I'm going to repeat that for those who didn't hear from sitting next to her. We will have, to make, for folks that weren't able to be here, or if you're here and you just want to listen to it again, or you missed something, you want to go back and clarify something, on DOT's webpage and Facebook page, we will have links and have the video portion of my presentation, not the comments portion when y'all come up and speak. That video will not be on the web, but but my presentation portion, as well as the maps and the boards and information that we had at the hearing. So if you missed something tonight, you want to go back and check it, or you want to get your neighbor to check, then that'll be available as well. Okay, that's got our housekeeping. As I mentioned, we're here for the Rodanthe breach portion of the Bonner Bridge project. This is phase 2B. Phase 1 is the Bonner Bridge itself. Phase 2A is the P Island breach area near the temporary bridge. And we had a hearing on that last year, March, springtime, early springtime period. And today we're going to talk about the breach area in the Rodanthe area. And I'm going to sort of follow through the order of your handout so you can follow along a little bit, but again, I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'll give you all a chance to do that at your leisure. As I mentioned earlier, we had informal open houses earlier today in Rodanthe. We had one yesterday in Ocracoke, and we'll have another one just prior to our formal hearing in Manio. So if you'd like to come out for that, or if somebody misses and you want to send somebody, then a neighbor or a friend. And then of course the formal presentation and formal hearings tonight. The same information is being presented at all of these meetings. So no one's hearing anything differently tonight than they heard yesterday, than they'll hear tomorrow. And for those folks who aren't comfortable coming up and speaking, everything carries the same weight. If you send me an email, if you send me some, however you get your comments to me, we look at all those equally. So don't feel like if you're not comfortable speaking that your voice is not going to be heard. So the purpose of tonight's hearing is to receive your comments and concerns on this project. That's really why we're here. I'll talk for a few minutes, but really the important thing is to hear from you. DOT released an environmental assessment. That's a document. That's an environmental study. It's a document that we just completed. And in addition to the comments sort of on the project, we're asking for comments on that environmental assessment. And it documents the studies that we've done on the project and the decisions we've made up to this point. Copies of the EA and the documents are at the locations that are shown in your handout. So if you'd like to go and see these firsthand, sometimes easier to see than on a website. But it is also available on the website. You'll see the webpage down at the bottom of page 1. So I said it's really important to hear from you, and you got lots of opportunities. There's lots of ways we can hear from you. We have a comment box on your way out. If you look on the back of your handout, the back sheet is a comment sheet. What you need to do is just tear that off, fill that out, and drop it in the box. We've got some specific questions in there. The more detail you can give us about your opinions, the better, because what you see here is what we've done up to this point, but if you have specific concerns, changes, suggestions, why you have an opinion that one alternative is better than the other, we want to know that, because that can help us with tweaking the alternatives and making decisions in the future. So you can drop it off in the box on the way out. You can mail it to us later. You can email me. My email address is included in your handout. You can fax it to us, or you can do comments tonight as well. So what do we do with the input that we hear? What do we do with the comments that everyone gives us today? The DOT project team will review all the comments. We'll put all the comments together. Sometimes we sort and organize them, look through them, and we address all the comments and share them with our state and federal partners. And most issues are resolved at this time, and then we move forward in the project process. The next steps, again, we review and consider all the hearing comments. Then we'll select an alternative for construction. Right now we have a preferred alternative, and I'll go into detail on that in just a minute, but we'll select a preferred alternative, or a selected alternative for construction, and then we'll determine if there are any significant new impacts. If so, the environmental assessment we did will not be sufficient enough. We will need to do if there are significant new impacts, then we'll do a supplemental final EIS. So just another environmental document that we do, another part of the studies that we do. If there are no new significant impacts, then we will issue a new record of decision for the project. And then we'll award a design build construction contract. Right now we're looking at late spring 2014. So talked a little bit about the project. It is the long-term solution for the section of NC 12 in the southern portion of the P. Allen National Wildlife Refuge in northern Rodanthe. It's designed to last at least 50 years, and it is, as I mentioned earlier, phase 2B of the Bonner Bridge project. These are the two study alternatives that we have. I'll cover some of the other things that we looked at, some of the other options that we looked at, but these are the two that went through detailed study. We have the bridge on new location, which starts north of Rodanthe in the P. Allen Wildlife Refuge and goes into the Sound and then ties in Rodanthe. And the other option is the bridge within existing NC 12 easement, which generally follows the existing road. It's within the existing easement. It won't be exactly where the road is, but generally will follow the existing road through and into Rodanthe. Both of these are bridges. So everything you see here is on a bridge. So it's either a bridge along in the existing easement, or a bridge in the Sound. So a little more detail on the bridge within existing NC 12 easement. It's a 2.3 mile bridge, and you can see a visualization that we have done as a sort of artist rendering type thing that we've done to give you an idea of what that might look like. It accounts for future breaches and erosion in the area, and existing NC 12 would be removed within Rodanthe, within the refuge, and in Rodanthe we'd have one-way service roads that provide property access. And we will, with both the alternatives, and in Rodanthe, NC 12 will remain for property access. So the portions of the road in Rodanthe will stay to access the properties, and then once you get into the refuge, all of that will be removed up to the new bridge. And again, we'll maintain traffic during construction. The impacts in Rodanthe: residential and business relocations, visual impacts for the sound side homes, and you'll see this here. This is at the south end of Corbina looking west. This is a visualization of what it would look like. And it would affect recreation in the Pamlico Sound at the location of the bridge. It also affect habitat within the Pamlico Sound. Impacts in the refuge would be 2.7 acres of new easement that would be needed, and 19.27 acres of existing NC-12 easement would be returned to the refuge. So there's sort of a net gain for the refuge with this alternative. And then loss of direct road access to the refuge for 1.8 miles. We wouldn't have the road through that area anymore, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the preferred alternative, DOT's preferred alternative is the bridge within existing NC-12 easement. Again, that's DOT's preferred alternative, but we want to hear from you today what your opinion is. And some of the reasoning behind that is that there's no new permanent NC-12 easement in the refuge. NC DOT already has that easement. It also avoids impacts to Pamlico Sound. But the final, and this is what I was talking about, is that the final decision on the alternative will consider public input. So we really, really want to hear from you and your neighbors and anybody else that's not here that has an opinion. We want to hear from everyone. So let the project team know which alternative you prefer and why. The why is very important as well. So I mentioned we also looked at a couple other options that were not taken through detailed study, and you see the two we already mentioned, the bridge on new location and bridge within existing easement. That's the light blue and the red. We also had a bridge within existing easement and beach nourishment combination, and that's the yellow. And that would have been a bridge that would have started at the north and come down just into Rodanthe and stopped a little bit shorter of the other bridge. And that would have been supplemented. That bridge would have been supplemented with beach nourishment in this area where the yellow line is. And then the other alternative that was not carried forward for a detailed study was the beach nourishment option that included two new 20-foot high dunes and beach nourishment in this area. A little bit about project costs, funding, and schedule. Oh, but before I go, I'm not going into a lot of detail on that, but those options were, if you're wondering about the beach nourishment options that I just mentioned, those two options, there's some detail in your handout about why they were eliminated, and I'm not going to go into that detail, but if you're interested, it's in there as well as in our environmental document, the environmental assessment. So based on our preliminary design, the construction costs for the project for the bridge within existing NC-12 easement is between $187.5 million and $215.5 million. The bridge on new location is between $203.3 million and $236.3 million. And these values included construction, right-of-way acquisition, relocation, utilities, relocation, and presented as a range to reflect the possible structure types and construction techniques. So we're giving our contractors some options to help maximize what we're able to do here, and that gives us a range here. As far as funding, there will be state and federal funding. Generally an 80-20 split, 20% state funds, 80% federal funds. However, this may be eligible for reimbursement under the federal emergency relief, for federal emergency relief funding, and that could be as much as 30% of the long-term solution. And then, as I mentioned earlier, then we also, as far as the schedule, we'll be looking at a design-build contract for construction late spring 2014. And when we talk about design build, what that means is we'd have a contractor that would be able to do the design and the construction together to help maximize a lot of different things. It gives them a lot of flexibility. But what it does mean is that when we land the project, they start the final design of the project and also start purchasing right-of-way and those types of things. So it could be as much as a year and a half before you see actual construction. But they're not doing anything. They're working on the final design and buying the right-of-way for the project. And speaking of, let's see, before we get a right-of-way acquisition, did want to make sure you note on page 11, I'm not going to go through it, but the purpose and need for the project is listed on page 11 for Bonner Bridge replacement project, and this is a part of the overall Bonner Bridge replacement project. So I did want to mention that. And this project is consistent with local land use plans, and that's mentioned on page 12. There will be right-of-way acquisition for the project. It will require property and acquisition and relocation of homes and businesses. On page 12, and because there are relocations, I'm going to actually read through this, so please bear with me for a moment. For right-of-way acquisition, after decisions are made regarding the final design of the alternative selected for construction, the proposed right-of-way limits will be staked on the ground. If you're an affected property owner, a right-of-way agent will contact you and arrange a meeting. The agent will explain the plans and advise you as to how the project will affect you. The agent will inform you of your rights as a property owner. If the permanent right-of-way is required, professionals who are familiar with real estate values will evaluate or appraise your property. The evaluations or appraisals will be reviewed for completeness and accuracy, and then the right-of-way agent will make a written offer to you. The current market value of the property at its highest and best use, when appraised, will be offered as compensation. NCDOT must treat all owners and tenants equally, fully explain owners' rights, pay just compensation in exchange for property rights, and furnish relocation advisory assistance. And that relocation assistance is this: if you are a relocatee, that is a residence or business to be acquired, your resident or business is to be acquired as part of the project, additional assistance in the form of advice and compensation is available. You will also be provided with assistance on locations of comparable housing and or commercial establishment, moving procedures, and moving aid. Moving expenses may be paid for you. Additional monetary compensation is available to help homeowners cope with mortgage increases, increased value of comparable homes, closing costs, etc. And a similar program is available to assist business owners. And our right-of-way agent can explain more about that. And we have one here tonight. And then also, if you miss her, let me know, send me an email. I can get you in contact with our right-of-way agents. We also have right-of-way and relocation pamphlets and brochures that are available. So there's other projects in the area that are going on, the other phases of the project that y'all might be interested in. I'm not going to go into those in detail because that's really not what we're here for. We're here to talk about Phase 2B. But in your handout on page 12 and 13, there is some information about some of the other projects that are going on if you're interested in that. Also, if you want more information, we've kind of talked about this before. The NC12 site is here, and there's several other Twitter and Facebook and some of the other access to our social media sites and that sort of thing is shown on the bottom of page 13. And again, there's many ways to comment, but the key thing is we want to hear your comments. I also mentioned, because we're sort of at the end of the handout here, there's a Title VI public involvement form. What that is a form that's voluntary. You don't have to put your name down there, but it will help us with our compliance, help us register some of our compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. So if you would take a moment to fill that out before you leave today and drop that off, even if you don't finish your comments tonight, if you could just fill that out real quick. Again, it's voluntary, but it will be helpful to us, and we do not ask for your name. Okay. And Okay, and again, here's my contact information. It's also in your handout, so no need to scribble furiously. We're going to run through the maps, actually. I'm going to skip the fun part of our process here. I'm going to run through the maps. All right, make sure this one's on. All right, see if I can make this work. And I apologize, I had this open and I closed it, so you'll bear with me for just a moment while I jump in. All right, this is the bridge on existing easement alternative, our preferred alternative. I think I'm going to have to get my, just a second. So one portion of our evening that I did not plan as well as I hoped. Thank you. All right, we'll make it work. I'm gonna try not to. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna try not to cut myself up here. It'll be more entertaining than you ever thought you'd have in a hearing. That's not what I want to see on our Facebook page. Is a picture of me on my backside. Okay. So we're going to just run through this really quickly. I will start on the north side of this. Look away for a second while I zip over here. All right, and I'll kind of go through some of the colors that you see here as we go through. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You can look at it again later if you'd like. And these are the two maps that we have up here. This, and if you came to our open houses, this is what you saw earlier. And this is the option over here to your right. And we start here in the refuge, and what you can see, zoom a little bit more so maybe y'all can see. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so what you can see with this alternative, and why I wanted to zoom in on this a little bit more, is the yellow at the top is the temporary, will be the temporary road that we build first. So we built a temporary road on that side of, just adjacent to the existing road, and that'll allow us to construct the bridge, but we can maintain traffic during construction. And you'll see the, and I'll grab my pointer real quick. So you can see the temporary here, and this is the beginning of the bridge, which is in red. So the bridge is in red. And that will follow along southward, generally following the existing road into Rodanthe. And this is the edge of the refuge here. And then what you'll notice is, in addition to the red bridge, there's yellow road. Now, the yellow is the new pavement, so it's new asphalt, new pavement. And what you'll notice on each side is that temporary road becomes two service roads, a one-way service road in each direction on either side of the bridge. And here, you'll see a turnaround. That allows you to turn around because everything that's hatched will be removed after construction is over. So all that road will be removed after construction is complete. And then here at Cross of Honor, there's another area to turn around. So you can go under the bridge in both of those locations to turn around, because you just have one-way access on each of those roads. And then, how do you get on those roads? Right here. This is where the bridge comes back. It'll be in this area of 17.5 feet of clearance underneath the bridge from the land, so that cars and trucks and stuff can get under it in those turnarounds. And at this point is where the bridge has come back down and kind of lands and hits existing ground. And then you have an intersection right here. That will give you access to those service roads. And that is generally the end of that option. Okay. So that's a brief overview of that one, and we'll run through the new location alternative as well. All right, look away for a moment. I'm going to whip by. Anybody getting dizzy? Okay, here we go. All right, this is the beginning of the new location option, and you see the bridge begins and starts to turn. It starts at existing ground and then goes up into the air and continues along this one's a little harder because it doesn't go straight, but it continues out into the sound. And you're not going to really see a whole lot until we get to the other end. So let's zip on over here to the other side. Into Rodanthe, where it curves back around and comes back and lands just south of America Drive. And you have another intersection. And everything you see in yellow is new pavement. And everything that's hatched is pavement that's removed. So what you'll end up with is this is an access road. This part of what at that point will be, it was NC12, is an access road for the properties in that area. And NC12 will continue south. So going back over here to give you an idea of what's going on in these neighborhoods with existing NC12, you can see the yellow there. That is a end of the road. That's a little, what we call a T-turnaround. So that's a little spot where you can turn around, but that'll be sort of a dead end there. And the gray hatching is pavement that's going to be removed. So as we mentioned earlier, all the pavement that is on existing NC12 with this particular option, all that pavement would be removed. So that's